But here's the best outcome for all people. Take care of your anxiety first, which means taking care of your health, right? I could have said, take care of your health first, but your health isn't like the concept that's bothering you. It's your anxiety that's bothering you. Make it your full-time job to figure out anything you can do to make that go down, and do it without drugs if you can. Here is my single biggest happiness tip, which will be followed by a few more. The best way to be happy is to match your energy to your schedule. And here's what I mean by that. And by the way, some of this comes from my book, How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big. Suppose I said, how would you like some delicious food? And I'd say, I love delicious food. Yay. And then you say, all right, we're going to do it right now. And I say, oh, I actually just ate. So how much value would delicious food be to me if I just ate and I'm full? Well, none. So my energy, I'm using that generically, in this case my hunger, was not matched to this excellent thing that I like, eating good food. Likewise, exercising when you're in the right mood for it is actually kind of fun. Exercising when you really don't want to is just pain. It's just torture. So my one whole life arc happiness tip, that's the best tip you'll ever hear, is work toward a situation, and it won't happen instantly, but work toward a situation where you can control your schedule as much as possible. Because then you can say to yourself, I'm hungry, eat food, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Nobody's going to stop you, right? I'm anxious. I'm going to go exercise right now. I'm going to stand up and walk out the door right now. The moment you can match your exact energy and need to the thing that satisfies it, your happiness level is going to go through the roof. I reminded myself of that yesterday by taking, and this is uncharacteristic for me, I don't usually take a block out of my day and just say, this is just for me. Like I'm always doing something for somebody or something I committed to or something. So typically I'm going from one thing I have to do to one thing I have to do. And even with my schedule, and I have a lot of flexibility, but even with my schedule, there's a limit to the flexibility. But in that 2 hours or so, in which I just said, I'm just going to do whatever my energy wants me to do, and then I did that. I can't tell you how good that felt. Just matching my exact schedule to my exact energy, just through the roof. Now, just make sure you do that. Don't save all of your leisure for a vacation. Don't save it all for a vacation. Sometimes you just got to carve out a time to do the thing that you want to do during that exact time. See how it feels. All right, next thing. It has been said of me many times, and I believe it's true, that I'm unusually good at handling pressure. Has anybody noticed that about me? I'm not sure if you can tell from a distance. But do I seem like I'm good at handling pressure? I would be interested in your subjective evaluation. Now, you do see me blow up and stuff, and if anybody doesn't know it, if I allow myself to lose control on the live stream, it's because it's part of the show. You all get that, right? You all get that if I were not doing the live stream, I wouldn't be cursing at somebody and, and shouting and being a madman. It's just part of the entertainment. If you didn't like it, I wouldn't do it. The moment the audience no longer wanted to see it, I'd be like, oh, okay. It would be easy to control. All right, so here's my point. In my own opinion, I think that I'm unusually not susceptible to pressure. Indeed, I actually have always performed better in competition when things are tight. And I'm not sure how much of that is organic. But I will tell you this. I have spent most of my life working on that like it's a life skill of maximum importance. Let's say if you were to compare my nervousness level to yours at age 11. At age 11, pretty much a nervous mess. And it made me unhappy pretty much all the time. nervous mess. And so I realized at that point that if I didn't make it my full-time job to figure out how not to be stressed as shit, I would just be stressed forever, and it wouldn't matter what else was happening. Even if everything else went well, I was still going to feel like crap if I didn't figure out how to get out of my own head. So I'm going to teach you how to get out of your own head, and I'm going to tell you why everybody in this generation has an anxiety problem. You've noticed, right? Everybody has an anxiety problem, mostly younger people. And if you're above a certain age, you probably don't. Have you noticed that? Above a certain age, you probably don't have an anxiety problem. Below a certain age, oh, you have one. Oh, you got one. Yeah. So let me tell you what's different about, when I was young versus when somebody's young right now. You know what's different? Everything that affects your anxiety. Everything. Everything that affects your anxiety is worse, like way worse. Let me give you an example. See. Do you think that kids get outdoors as much as we used to? We, meaning anybody in my age group. No. There's no way in hell the kids get outdoors. Is getting outdoors correlated with your anxiety? Yes. Yes. It's super correlated. Like really, really strongly. If you don't get outside, you're not going to feel as well. Right? And there's a big difference. How about complexity? When you're around a lot of complexity, does it make you anxious? It does. It does, because it's like too much work, right? Is life more complex? Yes. By what? Order of magnitude? It's not even close. So of course they have more of a challenge. How about, is it easier now to compare yourself to others? Oh my God, yes. When I was a kid, the only person I could compare myself to was somebody on the one channel of television that came in well, and the 25 people I knew personally. That's it. Now you're comparing yourself to the whole world and filters, and yeah, of course, all that. How about family cohesion? Less, right? There's less. How about addiction? More, right? So even if you're not the one who's addicted, how many people have an addict in the family? Mother, father, sibling? A lot. How many people had an addict in the family when I was a kid? There's still too many, but I don't think it was close to what it is now. If you have one addict in the house, how's everybody's anxiety doing? Am I right? Everybody who has somebody who's addicted to alcohol or substance, if you have one of them in the house, how's the energy level in the house? Everybody calm? No. No, one addict can ruin 5 people's lives minimum. I think that's actually a reasonable ratio. It's probably higher. But here's my number. One addict ruins 5 lives minimum. Somebody's saying 10, and I think you're closer to it. I think 10 is closer. One addict ruins 5 lives minimum. Minimum. So that's different. How about more fake news scaring the shit out of you? Yes, that's different. How about climate change scaring the shit out of you? Well, that is different, but I will say, to balance it out, my generation, we had the nuclear war risk all the time. And that felt similar, like, life as we know it could end any moment. So maybe that part's similar but different. How about, are we eating the wrong foods and getting fatter? And yes. Are we less confident about the future? Of course, because everything's changing faster. And right? When I grew up, I could be confident about the future because I knew if I went to college, got good grades, I'd get a good job in any variety of places. So I didn't really have any lack of confidence because everybody had the same path. Study, go to school, get a good job. It was pretty much straightforward. But now, who knows? Could be robots and AI in 5 years. How about how about being less self-sufficient? I would argue that a 14-year-old in my generation could successfully run a small business. Is there anybody my age or older who would disagree with me? In my generation, A 14-year-old could successfully, and did, and in fact, I know people who did exactly that. I know somebody well who ran an entire bowling alley at 14. It was something his father built and owned, but then his father had, his career went somewhere else. And so he just said, well, I can either sell this thing or you can be in charge of it. He was 14 years old. He said, oh, okay, I'll run it. And then he ran his business at 14. Later started his own large business, sold it for millions. Do you think that running a business at 14 helped him become an entrepreneur later? Yeah. That kind of builds your confidence, doesn't it? Now here, just for a joke, imagine a 14-year-old today running a business. I'm sure there's still some, but it's almost like a joke, right? It's a complete difference in how self-sufficient you are. A 14-year-old back then would not know how to do things, but would know how to figure it out. We'd just ask somebody, figure it out. But we'd have the confidence that we could figure it out. So all of those things are wrong, and here's my tip for fixing it all. Do you remember have you ever been taught that happiness comes from within? Have you ever heard that saying? Happiness comes from within. Were you taught that when you were young? Yeah, if you just seek within, find out who you really are, follow your dreams, follow your passions. So, for sort of an internal process that you could find happiness. That might be the worst advice ever given. It's the worst advice. There's no happiness within. It's not in there. Don't look for it. It's not in there. Your brain is just a recipient of inputs. You just change the inputs. Happiness is without. Happiness will come to you by doing the right things externally with your body. Take your body outdoors. Don't look within your skull. Go outside in the sun. Walk around. Happiness is not in your head. It's in your fucking stomach. Don't eat shit and then tell me you're unhappy. Maybe it's because you ate shit all day. Maybe that made you unhappy. I don't know. I just did a little experiment in the last month where I tried to really clean up my eating. My allergies went away. I mean, seriously. I have pretty much permanent allergies all the time. All I did was say, for a month, I'm just going to really just eat really clean. As much as you can in the modern world. My allergies went away. And yes, I do have allergies in the winter and all year round, normally. So did I find happiness within? No, it was on my plate. Happiness is on your plate. It's out there. Did I find happiness within, or did you have some good sex? Did you meditate? Did you do some yoga? Did you get some exercise? Did you put your phone down at 9 p.m. instead of playing with it at 2 p.m. and do all the wrong things to sleep? Have you spent 10 minutes Googling what it takes to have good sleep habits? Number one, go to bed about the same time every night and wake up about the same time. Actually, the waking up is more important. Right? Here's when I was 11 and I realized that my anxiety level somewhat biologically was through the roof, I said to myself, my number one job is that. Every day I'm going to work on figuring out how the fuck to stop worrying about everything. And I did. I exercised in every way you can, sports. I learned meditation when I was in high school. I became a hypnotist in part to use self-hypnosis, which is very effective, in the same way meditation is. And I've spent all of my adult life studying every skill that could give me any angle on how to make my anxiety less, which is related to your entire health, right? The whole thing is wrapped up in your whole health. And so, do not shortchange yourself. If you want to know what your priorities ought to be, and I say ought in terms of best outcome for all people. Usually best outcome, is usually for one person at other people's expense. But here's the best outcome for all people. Take care of your anxiety first, which means taking care of your health, right? I could have said, take care of your health first, but your health isn't like the concept that's bothering you. It's your anxiety that's bothering you. Make it your full-time job to figure out anything you can do to make that go down, and do it without drugs if you can. The exception is weed. Weed works for some people, and it's just a positive. In my life, it's just a positive. That doesn't mean it would be for you. I think maybe 1 in 5 people could say that for sure, at most. So you have to find your way. Like there's no one thing that I'm going to tell you that's going to work for you. You got to find the system that gets you outside. You got to find the system that lets you eat right. By the way, that's my book teaches you how to do that. How to fail at almost everything and still win big. But do not allow yourself to think it's something happening inside your head. It is not. All right, so that is your lesson on happiness. Make it your full-time job.